We get these meals. So, you subscribe to the I think it's Martha Stewart's meals, right?
Hmm.
We try everything. And it's been pretty good. It's like I'm not sure what we're having tonight, some sort of a pasta dish, but I'm looking forward to it. 8 o'clock. Don't make me late.
You can leave early. That's another way how it works. But yeah, we got to end at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, listen,
Um,
we do at least an hour a day. Okay, that's 5 hours minimum a week. It's almost like a job.
that's
Okay,
nothing, bro. By the way, we're live. We're content creators.
I
We
know we're
gotta
live.
fucking
I don't mind sharing with the people. I have no
we
problem
gotta
telling them the truth.
we
Uh,
gotta we gotta be
you're
doing.
you're a content creator. Me and Carlos are really bad at creating content because our thank God for the Patreons. I really appreciate you and that you enjoy this show because they've signed up to our Discord. We're at 90 patrons right now, by the way.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been growing and people are just discussing all day if you've seen the Discord, so that's great. And we're going to be doing more private chats with our Discord as well. So me and Carlos have things. People are asking us for Enovix to do a part 2. We did a part 1 like 6 to 8 months
When the
ago.
company started, IPO'd.
So we're
We
going to be
still got
doing
to get
something.
that. We still got to get that meta one out. That meta debate was good, and I think if we just have a better recording system, I think that's a good format
Yeah, yeah.
because it was like I don't know, 10 people, and we can really get into some of the details.
Well,
And
I
stuff
think now with
of the
90
parts.
patrons, we might have more than like the 6 or 7 people that were
Yeah,
watching before.
yeah.
I think yeah, we'll do some private actual streams for people who want to join.
Yeah, and that was fun. Like bring in one person, bring in some like experts on different topics.
It's actually good now. This is the perfect time. I know people are scared, but like this is the time when you're supposed to not be scared, right? This is the opposite time, and everybody's just terrified. I'm going back and forth all day long with fucking just telling me how solar's dead. Well, why should I buy Enphase? Like all of these things. I'm like,
I
we have
see them on Twitter
we
too.
have
We get
15,000
tagged in a
videos
lot
on
of it.
why. So
It's
why
like,
don't you go do some
guys,
research?
yeah.
Uh,
I also think like I don't know, like the market cap of a company doesn't necessarily reflect what the company's actually doing, and that disconnect is where our opportunity is. Like if every company was valued correctly, the stock market would be boring, wouldn't it?
there you go.
Is that
Cheers.
alcohol?
It's that kind of day. It's a red bloody day. Might as well drink a
Are you,
Corona.
are you getting? You're getting it. You got to save it for Vegas. We got plenty of that to drink.
Oh, I can't drink every day till Vegas.
I'm
I told
like
my
just
mom.
waking up from a nap, so like the thought of having a beer.
Well, I was actually doing some hard labor, and I'll have some videos for the Discord, by the way, under my real estate stuff. So I've been doing some
Outside.
hard labor outside. I'll show you what I've been doing. Yeah, it's just a lot of work. It actually makes you want a beer at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
I get it. I get those guys who work day laborers.
Yeah, some of the guys that work on my house, they get here and the first thing they do is like slam down 2 beers. They're eating some like Chick-fil-A or whatever in the yard, and then they get to work.
The
Yeah,
problem
yeah.
with beer is I've had beer and it doesn't taste as good as a Coke. It's not as refreshing as
You
like
gotta have it cold.
soda.
You gotta have it
It
really
has
cold.
to be cold,
Get a
and it's also,
Pacifico really cold. It's good.
yeah, and it also depends what brand, because there are different brands. I wasn't a beer like fan or aficionado like 10 years ago. I didn't like it, but with the like, if you try Italian beers, if you try Japanese beers, they're all slightly different. Where you could probably find something you like better, you know.
Mm.
And honestly, you don't need a beer. It's empty calories if you really don't like
Yeah,
it.
if, you,
But
if you're looking to get like a good buzz going, a little whiskey or
yeah,
something, and then you don't have to hit the gym as much. But sometimes, like you're watching a game or a fight, I just want a beer. A beer with a
yeah.
nice lime. Come on, man, that's refreshing.
Let's admit it is a social lubricant. It does work. All right, so
Absolutely. Yeah, 3 beers and you're good.
I'd say one beer. I'm a lightweight.
Well,
One
maybe
beer.
you're a lightweight. But the other problem is if you have too much beer, I notice you end up going to the bathroom too much. Once you break that seal, you just run into the bathroom every time. That part I don't like.
What should I get a Four Loco? Is that a thing to drink? Is that a good
Drink a
thing?
Four Loco.
I haven't tried that, but sure, give that a shot.
I've
Cool.
tried it.
Stellas are good. Peroni.
What about
what was,
Heineken? Is
what
that
is it,
good?
was it called Peroni? Is it
Nah.
Perona? What is the Italian one? What is the Italian one? Heineken.
Peroni?
Yeah, it's okay. Heineken.
Peroni.
Is
I
it
don't do
Italian
Heineken.
beer?
My dad had a pretty big drinking problem, and he would, as a kid, that's all he drank. Like he would come home on Friday with like a case of Heineken and like drink the stuff, and so that smell of like Heineken on his breath,
That German smell.
Yeah, it actually turned me off to drinking for a long time. It's one of the things that kept
No,
me.
that's good.
Peroni,
And
yeah,
I actually
Peroni.
don't advocate drinking
Peroni's
one
good.
beer and that's it. By the way, it's not
Yeah,
like
very little. You don't need
I'm
much.
not gonna be hammering them all night. It's just one beer and that's it.
You don't need
I
much.
think alcohol had a reverse psychological effect on me because my dad had a liquor store and I basically operated the liquor store after school for about 7 years. Like I literally rang up customers and took their orders, and so I was surrounded by Jack Daniels and Heineken. Like I would like do imaginative stories because I was so fucking bored when there were no customers walking through the aisles. And I saw so much liquor growing up that I never had the compulsion to try it. It was like a weird.
Did you also see like the downside of it? Did you also see like a bunch of these degenerates that would just drink it
Yes,
themselves?
I saw a bunch. Not degenerate. I saw blue collar folks who would come in. They would buy some Lucy's. So if those are cigarettes for people that don't know. That's not just the
for
whole
a
pack.
quarter.
For a quarter, 50 cents. That's illegal to sell, but my dad still sold it. Drinks.
He just outed his dad.
Yeah, we don't have a liquor store
He's
anymore.
knocking at his door.
And then lottery tickets, liquor lottery tickets, and
those weren't
And
real.
all the
He just
gambling,
made
basically
those
all
up.
of the
bro. These people would play like,
degeneracies.
you know how there's like a trillion different combinations of 4 digits. They would play 50 of them, thinking they have a good shot of getting all 4 digits. And I'm just
Well,
like,
isn't that the scam? The scam is like
there's like a
think
trillion.
you
more
think you're
than-
gonna win, and so people gamble because they think they're gonna win. So
That's true.
yeah,
I see them even at the local 7-Eleven. I see those guys, the guys like the day workers. They come with like a wad of cash because you have to buy all those things with cash. They're dumping $20, $50, $100. Then they're sitting outside scratching them off. And it's like, I'm like, you just threw all your money away. But they happen to win just enough. Like they win enough. If they lose $50 and they win 20, they see it as a win, and then they throw the $20 back in, and they just keep doing that.
Well, speaking of gambling, let's get into it. Chris is probably taking his pregame shit nowadays.
Yeah, he's saying, hold on. But before you get into the alcohol thing, it actually is important. I know everybody who grew up without alcohol around them. So I was Russian. My parents had alcohol all the time, so I didn't need to go try to hide. It was basically there if I wanted to, because like Russians are okay. Here, to try this. Go ahead, try it. When I was growing up, so I never had an inclination to actually get hammered because it was always there. But my friends who didn't have that around them, they're all freaking drunks. Okay, so
yep,
absolutely.
I think when you're a kid, if you see enough like adults, seeing drunk adults as a kid really does something to you. You see how stupid they look.
Oh, they act like crazy.
They act like fools, or they start talking a bunch of smack to you. It definitely kept me off of alcohol for a long time.
Yep.
All right, let me do David's super chat, then we'll transition to the market. Sure. David, I don't know where you keep getting this money from, but
and why it's $27.99 is like that was what
always $27.99.
That was like the Bernie Sanders thing, right? We have millions of individual investments of $27. Like everybody was investing.
David, remember
why 27? It's so weird. Like,
Dave, remember there's 4 of us. Well, the 4th one is Chris. He said he's going to donate everything to charity, but the 4 of us, we expect $47.99 as from now on.
and 30%. Google takes 30%.
Oh yeah, so it's like $67.99.
We're basically not.
I'm just kidding, David. Appreciate it. You've been amazing.
Yeah, seriously.
But, is it true that this fall you guys will be having an event in Las Vegas, flying me out to Vegas on a private jet and renting me a luxury penthouse just to honor me and meet me in person? I normally don't meet.
No, that's not true, David.
Where did you hear this? Where did you hear this?
The event is real, but you have to probably fly us out.
Yeah.
David, we will take all your super chats and we will find the best Spirit Airlines ticket to fly you out.
Yeah, I was promised TFC spreads would do well, but they didn't, so I can't fly anybody out.
Oh, we got till 2025. Yeah, they're looking more attractive day by day.
Actually, I agree. That's the thing. When things go down, when things go down and they're already beaten down and they're actually good companies. There's a lot of good companies. Yeah, of course.
Let's talk about it. Market's down today. Stocks were down. Bitcoin's down 8%. Palantir fell 8%. Chinese Evergrande filed for bankruptcy. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, overall, what do you guys do as seasoned investors from a psychological perspective and maybe a buy to dip perspective on a bloody day like today? Vitaly, you can start off.
So today I bought, in our Patreon member for the Discord members, you can see what I'm buying. I bought more Solar Edge.
By the way, the Discord is in the description. So if you're not there, join right now.
Yeah, the Discord part is free. By the way, the Discord part is free. It's only the Patreon things if you want to see, talk to some private members and you want to see some of our trades.
See the trades and some of the DD.
Yes, and sometimes when we have conversations that are private, we do with members, but everything else is free. Okay, so anyway, I bought Solar Edge today. I bought more Enphase today. And the thing is, what you have to do for high conviction stocks is, even if you can't afford to keep buying heavy, even if you're like, I don't want to buy, on a red day, it's nice to buy 1 share. Obviously I bought more than 1 share, but I didn't buy massive amounts, 10 shares, 15 shares of Enphase or whatever, just to keep that mindset that I am a believer in the story. Because every day you don't sell, and I did agree with, I forgot his name again.
Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. When you don't sell something and you're holding it, it's like you're reinvesting into it each time. So every time I don't sell Enphase, it's because I'm reinvesting that money into Enphase. So I might as well actually reinvest another $1,000 or $500. So on red days, especially big red days, I feel like it's my obligation to buy some just for my conviction if I really do believe in it. And if I'm not buying something, right, that let's say there's some play out there that I was into and I'm not buying it, it's because my conviction isn't really there for that thing. And then I have to reassess why I'm not picking it up and think about that strategy, right? So anyway, that's what I did today. I bought more.
So Solar Edge and Enphase, those are the stocks you bought.
I also bought some PayPal yesterday, and then
Okay.
it proceeded to tank further.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay, Carlos, your thoughts on red days? Like,
well, for me right now, because I don't have a regular income, so I have to still be responsible about not over leveraging. Well, I've just honestly been building a pretty good cash position on the side, because I still feel like we have more to fall, and it's a gamble that I'm taking, but so far it's been working out. I feel like we're in a downtrend until September. So I think for August, I'm just gonna hold. I might pick up some stuff because some of the deals are super low.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
really and
if you're
like
buying something,
you can pick up a 1 or 2 shares.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to go ham on it and buy, like $10,000-$20,000. You could be like, look, I still believe in it. $500. You know what I mean?
And while we're talking about Bitcoin, I'm gonna actually post this on Twitter. But before I do, I want to show you guys something. One of our viewers sent this to me. I forgot to say he sent it to me. Check this out.
Billy Jack, Chris's eyes are clear. He had a good dump.
Actually, I didn't get a chance to go.
He didn't go. He's gonna be sitting there like this the whole time.
Did you pinch one off?
After our talk yesterday, I was like, you know what? I got to get back on the grind, man. I got to get back to working out again. So this morning, I hustled extra hard. You saw my rings. I closed my workout ring about 4 times over what I was supposed to.
Nice.
Wow. I think I have to readjust my calories because I think I put like 1,000 calories, and I'm like, bro, I'm tired already. I don't know how I could burn 1,000.
It calculates that based on your metrics, like your height and weight. Then it'll calculate how many calories you're burning based on your heart rate.
Yeah. So one of the things that I want to get back to, hold on one second. One of the things I want to get back to is like when I was in the Army, usually when I got my physical and stuff, they would do, your heart rate and stuff. Dude, my resting heart rate used to be in like the low 50s, which is like runner status. Yeah, that's like crazy. So that's what I want to eventually get back to, because that means like you have like peak cardiovascular health, It's hard to get there, but I want to get back to that level, so over time. Yeah. So right now I'm doing, my goal right now is just do a lot of slow moving endurance. So for a long time, that's what I'm going to keep doing right now for at least like a month, just to get back into like physical shape. And then I'll start working on putting on more like muscle and stuff. I mean, I'm still going to work out, like do my, do muscle exercises, like resistance exercises. But right now I just want to get my endurance back, and then I'll work on the other stuff.
Intervals will help with that.
Yeah.
So instead of doing, consistent like running for 10 minutes, run and do sprints followed by walks, like rev the engine and bring it down.
Yeah. So as for the other comment that you guys made about the markets, right now this is the time where your higher conviction plays should be retested to see if the thesis is broken or not. And if it's not broken, then of course you should be buying more. Like for me right now, people are asking like, some of the commercial REITs, some of the regional banks, because of the downgrades, they took a hit. So I took a second look at them. I ran through the financials again. I looked through the data that I have with like office occupancy levels, just to see like, hey, what's going on? Looked at the maturities of the debts that they have. Basically redoing the math and the calculations to see if there's anything that I could have possibly missed. And if the thesis is not broken, don't worry about it. Buy some more and call it a day.
Which stock is this that you're talking about?
I mean, it's a bunch. It's in my Patreon. It's a bunch of the REITs.
Amit, you're not subscribed to the Patreon. You got to.
No, I am.
He is.
I don't check it all every single day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you guys, it's not a secret. I put it on my I put it on my Savvy trading account, so it's not like a huge secret. Anyone that wants to follow, they can follow. But if you want the
Savvy trading account, it's called Savvy.
It's a company. It's a company. That's the name of the company.
Okay. It's called a Savvy Trade. So what you can do is you can create a model portfolio of how you would do your allocations, and then this way people can get, people can subscribe to it, and then people can get alerted if you buy or sell anything, right? So like right now, my portfolio is positioned 15% cash and then all the stocks that I currently have. And so if I sell anything, it'll show up. if I buy anything, it'll show up. And it's interesting because some people, like message me and say, hey, Chris, what's going on? Why did you buy this specific stock? Like, why did, like, someone asked me, like, oh, Wingstop, I never heard of them. Why did you buy
It's
them?
like a Patreon, but it's a little Olin built platform. So,
yeah.
So basically, Chris, you went through all your stuff, and your argument is on a red day. You look at if there's any conviction changing thesis breakers. If not, you buy the dip. That's basically what.
Yeah, pretty much. Because I mean, there has to be something that's causing the general market downturn, and you just want to make sure that you have everything covered. So, as an example, one of the negative factors of this downturn is, one, valuation, but two is also the higher for longer thesis is definitely playing out. So I think earlier in this year, a lot of people predicted that interest rates would start getting cut by the end of this year. Clearly, that's not going to happen. Economy's too strong. Everything is working well. So the cuts are probably not even likely to happen in the first quarter of this year.
You're making a very simple fallacy here. The reason you're doing that is because everything is based here off the S&P. The S&P pumped a lot. Okay, 30% up this year. Now it's retracing. That is it. There is nothing else to look at. There is no rates to look at. It's just the fact that the S&P pumped too much. It's getting a little bit back to consolidate, and that's what's happening. That's it. You can look at rates. You can look at the Fed. You can try to pick something out from the day. China, Evergrande. This is all bullshit and it's noise.
No. That's not. This is a horrible analysis in my opinion.
Is.
Yes, the S&P was pumping, but there's a lot of shit for why the market's
but
down
this whole
right
pullback that's happening right now. Look at the S&P chart. Just go take a look at the S&P chart.
No, but the S&P doesn't just magically go down. It is down because of the reasons Chris.
It magically goes down after it pumps 30% in a year.
First of all, it's up 20%. It's not. It didn't hit 30% this year, so you're wrong on that.
Second of all, maybe QQQ pumped. I forgot what it's 30%. But my point is still the same. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but okay, so what you're saying is interest rates don't matter. Nothing matters. The only reason why companies
the interest rates already. This is already. I'm not saying it's all priced in. I'm not, because the next rate can be more than expected, obviously, and that changes the things. But right now, in the interim, while we don't have this happening, it's just the fact that the market is consolidating and it pumped too much.
I actually think it's a combination of both. I think it's a combination of both. I think the markets have been cautiously optimistic as it's been performing well, but I think they are defensive. I think the market is defensively optimistic right now, and any change in any of the macro, everybody wants to be the first one out the door. And what that does is it does trigger what Vitaly is calling a retracement, because valuations have gotten a bit, like Chris would say, frothy. And so I think, but it doesn't just happen in a bubble. I mean, people can point to some event, and maybe it's not. I mean, we're used to the interest rate environment right now, and I think companies have been figuring out how to make money during that. I don't necessarily think that that's the problem, but any one thing, any one bad earning, any one bad reports coming out of China, like the news is now becoming that China's in real trouble, and a lot of companies have their businesses leveraged over there. Everybody wants to be the first one out the door, man.
Yeah, let's transition to China. Carlos, what is your kind of understanding of why China sucks? And then we'll get into the Evergrande stuff.
Well, I sent you that video that sort of explained it. A lot of it is it's population, it's lack of innovation. They and the fact that they're that it's basically a dictatorship. The housing market is collapsing out there. There's a lot of things that they're putting patches on a lot of things, and we're not getting the full information, but now they're not able to actually hide this stuff anymore. And so I think people are waking up to the fact that China is not as strong as we think it is. And as a result of COVID, a lot of companies had to start leveraging away from China to different countries. And I don't think that that's coming back. So if China is meant to be like the world's factory, and people are diversifying outside of that, having less exposure to it, I think it's due for a collapse.
Chris, what were your thoughts on Evergrande collapsing? Obviously, one of China's largest real estate companies.
I mean, it was bound to happen eventually,
yeah.
Right? So it wasn't anything that wasn't projected. It's like WeWork for us. I mean, sure, there could have been like times where they extended out their likelihood of bankruptcy, but we all knew that were going to go down. Post-COVID, WeWork had signed up a lot. Like pre-COVID, they had signed a lot of leases that were just uneconomical post-COVID. So WeWork was dead in the water, so the question wasn't like, is WeWork going bankrupt? It was like, when is it going bankrupt? So it's same thing with Evergrande and some of these other Chinese real estate developers. It's nothing that wasn't projected out. Like we had these tantrums come up once, twice already earlier this year, and I think earlier last year, where basically I think the Chinese government actually stepped in and kind of the regulators kind of like set some guidelines up, but even they are not going to be able to like endlessly prop up the economy forever, and eventually they're just going to have to let the dominoes fall. And so now you're seeing that happen.
So a question about Evergrande. I don't know everything about them, but I thought they were builders only in China. Is this correct or not? Or are they builders all
Yes.
over in the United States as well?
No, China, mostly China. I don't
So
think
China.
if
they
that's
build
the
anywhere
case,
else.
how are they going bankrupt in the United States?
Because they have a presence here. I think they own some assets here in the US, but only through like a subsidiary. Like I have to look at their
So it's some
their
small
thing.
position here, but it's funny that I mean, the
Yeah.
American system is letting, because bankruptcy here, I know we treat it like a bad thing, but
Yeah.
it's a way for a company to restructure and make sure that they can survive to live another day in a different form, of course. So bankruptcy is not always a terrible thing.
But,
But-
for whoever's in on that initial bankruptcy, someone's got to pay for it.
Well, yeah, the debtors will collect whatever
They-
percentage
right, and
is
they
they
lose.
can collect. Obviously, maybe it's not the whole amount, but maybe it's 25% of it. But either way, bankruptcy is an amazing system the United States has. I actually don't know how China treats their bankrupt companies. Like, do they execute all of the all of the head leaders? Like, I have no idea what actually happens in China for a
They end up
bankruptcy.
in those ghost cities. They all
Off
get
with
they
their
all get
heads.
COVID.
Could you imagine if you fail at a business in China, you die?
Well, I think what
Well,
happens, there is a social system. So I do know that when people didn't have enough money to pay for shit, you get your credit score, whatever, your social credit lowered. So I wonder if that happens for these top tier guys at Evergrande, but they're all connected to the government. They've paid off the government, I'm sure. So I don't even
Look,
think that
maybe
happens
someone
to them.
can correct me in the chat, but like since China doesn't push entrepreneurship, what they do is they demand certain returns. So that's what they demand of companies. Like they tell you what your growth rate is going to be. It's not up for question. You have to grow 10% by this quarter or whatever it is. And so that means that the companies will do whatever it takes in order to show that growth, because if not, there are repercussions. And so it's a different sort of incentive structure than what we have out here in, say, a capitalist society.
Yeah, so this is from 2001. Basically, as far as I can tell, some of these developers actually
guy looks serious.
they do have some projects in the US, but I don't think that they own anything. I think, well, they probably have partial ownership in US buildings, because I do know that like there was one REIT that I invested in, which is SL Green. They had a partner from China, which was the HNA Group, which is an insurance company. So what happens is these guys have excess capital. They take that money, deploy it overseas, like in the US, whatever. And so when HNA went bankrupt, what ended up happening is their interest in one of their buildings now, is under bankruptcy. So usually that time, when liquidation happens, your creditors are going to jump in and they're going to start to take ownership over your assets. And I think some of these assets are probably in the US. I don't know what properties Evergrande owns in the US, but they probably have some. So I think that's why it's important here.
But
I mean,
even then, it's weird because the main company in China owns this subsidiary or whatever, the United States version. So who gets what? Does the Chinese bankruptcy procedure take precedence and take the American assets because you have to pay off the creditors in China?
no.
You see what I'm saying?
So usually the American subsidiary has their own creditors under them, and those are the ones that are going to be pretty much paid. So what happens is when you file Chapter 11 here in the US, whatever's securing those loans, they're going to get first priority. So usually the structure for bankruptcy usually is secured first lien debt. Those guys are usually like super priority. The only people that get more super priority than first lien debt is something called DIP holders. So basically they're people who will like finance the bankruptcy portion, like literally give them enough cash to live through the bankruptcy process. So DIP guys usually the first ones to get cashed out. Then comes first lien debt. So first lien debt is like you have assets that are specifically in the contract saying this building or this operating lease is guaranteeing this loan.
Right.
Then
so
you
we're
have-
assuming
yeah,
those people
yeah.
are in the United States, not in China. That's what we're assuming.
Well, it could be companies in the US too. Like it depends on who the creditors are. It could be individuals. It could be individuals like private equity firms. It could be other
Right.
banks. We don't know. Like these are the things that are going to be discovered over the bankruptcy process. But what's more important is just figuring out who gets super priority in the debt stack, because if a lot of their debt has been issued that's unsecured, those people are all going to lose their money. But if it's like secured assets, secured by like U.S. Assets, those people will probably walk away with the assets.
Is that
themselves.
information
They'll be
public?
fine.
Do they have
No,
to report that
unfortunately,
information?
it's not very public. Like debt markets are very gray. The only time it becomes public is during the bankruptcy process, where now you have to declare who all your creditors are. And so if you go through like the entire bankruptcy process, they'll tell you these people are first lien, these people are second lien, these people are unsecured creditors, and so on and so forth.
Right.
Okay. Let's move on to Bitcoin. So Elon Musk's SpaceX sold $373 million of their Bitcoin stake. The Wall Street Journal reported this. Carlos, you shared something here as well. Bitcoin fell to 25 grand and now it popped up to 26. Any explanation on what the hell is going on with Bitcoin?
Bitcoin and crypto markets in general operate a lot on sentiment. When sentiment is bad, it tanks. I don't think the story has fundamentally changed. We're still moving towards the halving event. This is something that someone sent me in a chat that I'm going to post this thing, but you can see that the world's first gold exchange at ETF was in November 18, 2004, and you can see what happened to the price of gold after that. So it's already been approved in Europe, and so we're getting on the cusp of this. A lot of those tailwinds, a lot of the headwinds are being removed, and I just think, I've been saying this forever. We're going to see, I think, the lowest price in Bitcoin. We might see maybe even sub $20,000 at some point in September, depending on how far.
What would be the catalyst for it to go below 20K?
It's just, this is
so ridiculous fast for a catalyst for Bitcoin. It's just
Bitcoin is
I always laugh. We had someone on the Discord. I didn't respond yet, but they're like, "Why would Bitcoin go down? Why does it go up?" I mean, like, look, I'm in Bitcoin for a long time, but my point is, it is all sentiment driven. And if someone smells any sort of fear, whatever rates, something's happening in the economy, China's going bad, we're not mining anymore, well, and anything, could be anything, it goes down. And then someone says ETF again, and it goes back up.
Yeah, or Larry Fink starts talking about it, but yeah. So I'm guessing that we'll see at least 20,000, maybe sub 20.
I'm hoping we get that double tap, because I bought at 15 and 14 when it fell down. I actually sold at 30, by the way. But
you sold them Bitcoin
on the way down.
I sold a little bit of Bitcoin. I had a trade. Yeah, I had a trade on Bitcoin. But anyway, I want it back there. If it goes, I mean, these are stupid prices.
Oh yeah,
20, definitely 15, 4. These are stupid prices.
If it gets to 2015, 20, that's part of the reason.
Some guy's saying 5,000. Good luck. Good luck getting your 5,000.
5,000 is a little ridiculous, but that's part of the reason why I'm holding it. I'm holding it because although I can deploy the money in the markets, it's not necessarily timing the markets, but if you know what Bitcoin is about to do, say over the next year or two, the returns are going to be ridiculous.
Well, the people who say 5,000, 6,000, etc., blah, 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 they just don't understand tokenomics and the fact that Bitcoin halving is coming up next year. Like, if just supply halves, in anything, even if it's those dolls that we're selling, I don't know, like Garbage Pail Kids or whatever. If supply halves, all of a sudden there's a market that increases the price. So Bitcoin is something people do want, and if the supply halves, I think the price moves up no matter what.
But it's also like I was telling Amit, because the miners know that the reward's going to get halved. They stop selling a few months leading into it. They stop selling because they know that there's going to be higher prices coming.
Oh, the tokenomics thing.
Right. It relieves some of that sell pressure, which means that the people buying are going to drive the price up. Then the halving happens, and then after a couple of months, the reality of the restricted supply hits. The price jumps 4 or 5x or whatever it is, and then people start to FOMO in. So. I mean,
remember,
anything under 20,000. If you're not buying it under 20,000, then you're probably never going to have Bitcoin because you're not going to see these prices again.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this might be the last under sub 20,000 if it happens. But Carlos is right about the supply with the Bitcoin miners. They're the ones who keep pushing the price down. They're the ones who dump on everybody, just like institutional investors dump on us, right? They sell all the stocks basically. Yeah. It's the same thing. The miners are dumping. And it's your opportunity if you see a risk reward playing out, because at some point, if the miners are holding and they're not selling because they know there's a halving coming and they know they're going to expect to make more money, they stop selling, or at least they stop selling as much of the Bitcoin as they have. So that creates demand. Yeah.
But it's important to mention that the miners have to sell. The miners aren't dumping
to keep their businesses afloat.
Yeah. The miners have to sell Bitcoin. That is how they get paid to run the mining operations. That's what makes the Bitcoin blockchain work. And so they have to sell. But if they're smart and they've been selling a lot now to hold some capital, and then they stop selling in the few months leading up to it, then you're going to get that relief of the sell pressure that allows the price to rise. And then you have your FOMO on top of that once it starts getting into the news.
Yeah. This is going to be interesting, Carlos, because we're going to be proven right or wrong. So 2025, we're going to know.
Yeah,
We're gonna know. All of us are gonna know.
2024, 2025.
Just remember this.
I'm gonna bring up
Put this video in your notes. I'm
Okay.
thinking it's going to be way higher.
I'm going to bring up something. And I don't know if we brought the. In the meantime,
Let me move
gonna
on to
bring
the
up
topic,
something
and
in a
I'll
little
bring
bit.
up your thing in a little bit. So this will be an interesting discussion. Christopher Patel, you tweeted a bunch of things today. One thing caught my attention. Kelly, friend of the pod, says, "Will Tesla go below 200?" You said below 150, and 26 people liked it, and you started a little bit of a discussion here. Can you explain Tesla? Did you just say that for fun? Oh wow, Kelly joins right when I show her tweet. Did you say this for fun? Did you say this because you're a Twitter influencer? You got to get some more clout, or
he's trying to get that engagement up, trying to get that 5 million.
Were you engagement farming, or do you actually think people will have to get a job on the farm when Tesla goes down to 150 and they lose all their gains? What's going to happen?
I mean, to me, it's clear as day. It's common sense, but some other people may not believe it. Higher interest rates are staying longer. This is why it matters to pay attention to the interest rates. People are not going to be able to afford cars. There's a glut of vehicles right now. So you're looking at, like, go follow, I forgot which Twitter account, the used car guy or something like that. But basically there is a little bit of, what's the word? Oversupply in the auto sector right now. I don't think the demand is going to be forward. Tesla, on the other hand, even though their energy business is growing, their charging network is growing long-term, Tesla's a great company to be invested in because they are cash flowing. I think that they're going to see margin compression, and you're seeing China slowing down significantly. No one can say that's not happening, right? That's clearly.
Yeah, but
China is a
wait. But are you making
yeah.
are you making the argument that the margin compression is necessary? Like it's sort of
I mean, it's not. It's
an indication of.
It's just one of those things that's happening. I mean, when the economy turns, people are not exactly like, "Oh yeah, let me go buy a new car."
The reason why Tesla lowered prices this particular time in China is not in response to low demand. It's actually in response to what China has done to push ICE vehicles. Like right now, trying to register an ICE vehicle in China is very, very difficult. So what the ICE vehicle makers have done in Japan is they have cut into their own margins. So basically, some of these ICE vehicles now are half off. And so Tesla has lowered their prices just to compete with the dying industry.
Look, I can understand your explanation, dude. I totally get that, but that doesn't change the fact that they're going to be making less money. You know what I mean? Like, if you're making less money, regardless of the reason why you're making less money,
I think you're saying the gross margin. No, hold on.
Gross margin,
the gross margin is lower.
Gross margins can be
revenues have
compressed,
been
but
going
if you
up.
sell more units, units,
gross margin will take a dive.
That's
but
different than
so
revenues,
will,
by the way.
But so will demand. Demand is also going to scale back. Right now, China's economy is not doing well. People are not exactly going to say, "Yeah, let me go buy the most expensive EV out there." Some might even, go for the cheaper Chinese EV. You don't know. These are the kinds of things that, and not to mention, there are other factors in China happening and China's a very big part of Tesla's growth story, right? So if China slows down, Tesla's going to slow down. If Tesla slows down, you're going to see people reevaluate the pricing on the Tesla, the stock. And so that's where the price of Tesla could come down below 150.
And by the way, in terms of the price, I actually agree with you. I could see there's plenty of scenarios Tesla can go back to $100. It's like,
you think so? You think that's very possible?
Of course it is. This is ridiculous. It's also a sentiment-driven stock. So this is the thing. If the sentiment is very poor, even if Chris's bear thesis is not playing itself out, this is what I mean. Like, even if the rates for longer and all this doesn't play out, doesn't matter. The sentiment does matter. The story matters, right? So if that happens and Tesla has a Q3 with higher revenues, but the margin compression is 1% more lower, that's it. it goes down. That's it. It's just a sentiment thing. Oh, the margin is
Cybertruck
compressing.
is also the big question mark. We don't know how the
Well, that's
initial
probably. I know he said
release-
There's no
September.
Cybertruck this year, though.
It's probably not
Cybertruck's
happening.
Cybertruck's coming this year. There's already evidence. They're seeing evidence that they're announced. They're releasing VINs, like people with these high-powered drones with great cameras.
I know,
of
but
zooming
dude,
down
we're
and
talking
seeing,
about several thousand
VIN numbers and
trucks. We need millions of
It
vehicles.
doesn't matter. But it's not about what Cybertruck does to the bottom line. It's the fact that it's a new vehicle that they've now moved into the next era. The gigacasting thing is a success, and they're ready to ramp production. The first vehicles are going to go to workers anyway. They're not going to go to the general public. The first
For testing. I think they already have.
Yeah, they're going to go to employees first. They're going to have a big event, and that's always good. Tesla will also have an AI day and the next investor day. So we're going to see what happens with that.
Okay, but here's the question. Chris,
Well, I
would
do
you-
want to
would
say I
you-
didn't finish. People get
Go ahead,
two
go
things confused. Chris always gets this confused. Like the stock price is the most important thing. It's not. The most important thing is that the company is still executing and doing what they're supposed to do. The story changes when the company stops doing that. Okay. So as long as Tesla can keep producing the cars, getting them all out, increasing the charging network, increasing energy, as long as they're doing that, and you're DCAing at $200 right now, even though I said remember I told you we should wait till $200 or lower. We talked about this. But even if you did that, big deal, man, because the story of Tesla is nowhere near at the end. We are somewhere maybe in the middle, but we are nowhere near at the end.
The thing is, though, the drive down the last time to a sub $200 price was not about Tesla's performance, and it wasn't about margin compression. It was all essentially punishment for the acquisition of Twitter. It was more about Elon Musk being distracted.
No, it was also margin compression. I remember
Not
them
really.
going down.
Not really. A lot of it was.
I
just
remember them not hitting
about him being
50%. No, they didn't hit their 50% growth. It went down to 40 or
47%. Right.
It doesn't matter. The point is that's when it compressed. Just like Enphase is getting punished for the same thing. Solar Edge is getting punished for the same thing. That's fine. Guys, these are opportunities. Okay. Chris is giving you the negative. These are opportunities as it goes down.
Speaking
Chris,
of,
would you buy it
opportunity,
at 150 or no?
Yeah, I'll probably buy some leaps on it.
There you
Right.
go.
And then,
Because that's why I want you to frame it. Like it's an opportunity, Chris. This is not a bad thing that's happening for people
hey,
who are
I
not
gotta ask.
retiring.
Listen.
Hold on. For people who are not retiring tomorrow. Okay, I wish I retired tomorrow, but people who are not retiring tomorrow, and you do have the 5-10 years to wait, 20 years, whatever, for some people here.
Yeah.
I want to be retired by 2030. But if you can hold and wait, there's no problem here. There is
I think
no
we would all
problem
love
here.
Tesla at 150. None of us would be sad about that.
Well, no, a lot of people
It's what we
will be
spoke-
sad.
But the thing is, what we
And
spoke
they will
about,
not buy.
you know, it's what we spoke about yesterday. People say that. You say that when it's high, but once it actually gets to that price and all you're reading is about how it's the end of the world, it becomes very hard to deploy your capital.
Yeah.
Into this depressing storm of nothing but fun.
Didn't
and
I
fear.
just start this with, hey, I think Tesla's a good company. They've got other things going on. You know, don't worry about the long term. In the short term, though, it could go down to 150. Did you guys completely just ignore that completely?
You did say it, but you always tainted with taint. You always tainted with
Taint.
DJ says if Tesla jumps to 100, I'll only have 5 stocks in my portfolio. Half would be.
Well, this is the thing. Like
This is how Tesla becomes some people's most largest position. Is
I
because
mean,
it keeps
we have no
riding these
choice. We
massive
have no
swings.
choice because it's stupid. Honestly, like these companies that are going down, these are generational companies. I hate saying that, but it's so true. There's 3 companies that own like energy, the new energy, and we're discussing if they're going to make it. Okay, we're discussing if they're going to be around in 10 years.
I don't think
And
we're
the other part of it-
discussing
Get outta
it's
here.
gonna make
And the
it.
other,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
other part of it too is like the other part of it is how many other companies like mega cap companies like this, the CEO also owns other massive companies that are also profitable. Like it's just this idea like the guy clearly knows how to allocate capital and how to make successful companies. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the
You know-
reasons why a lot of people.
you know
Shout
which
out to
co-
Practical Beam, who's retired already and
if
enjoying.
you're
the
retired
show
already, then
while
you
you're
should be looking
retired.
for that. Those
Hope you're drinking some beer and watching the show.
You know which company y'all really should take a good look at. It's Google. Let me tell you, every piece of research that I'm doing on Google, I have. Do you guys want to see what Ruth Porat is doing at other bets at Google? Let me
Before
share
we
my
before
Yeah,
we do
I
that,
mean-
wait, before we do that, just
I'm a
to,
believer.
before we do that, just to finish that the conversation we was having about Bitcoin, I just wanted to show you guys something. I don't know if we talked about this. Dow,
I saw this.
Did you see
This was
this?
good.
Okay,
Yeah, I did.
So if we look at where we're at right now, and we know what Bitcoin did because we were around for the third halving. And this is, I want you to pay attention to this, Amit. Okay, 2019 we saw a 95% return on Bitcoin, and then the third halving occurred in 2020. That was in May. That was when Vitaly and I started the channel, and we saw a 301% return in Bitcoin that year, followed by a 66% return the next year. 2022 was all bloody. as all of that money came out of it and Bitcoin did what it does. It tanks 80% off of its highs. Now we're in 2023 and Bitcoin's already from the start of the year to the end of the year had a 78% return. It's worth noting too that in 2021, even though over the year it was 66% return, it went from 28,000 to 70,000 at that point. In that year. That's where you saw the peak price. And it still ended the year 66% up. So if history is any indication and we get one bad year and 3 good years, right now in this year so far, we've had a 78% return at 29,000. So let's just say we hit $20,000, $15,000, right? Whatever we hit to in September. Maybe we end the year $25,000, right? So whatever that return is, 60, 70%. What do you think is going to happen between the 2024 and 2025? Especially now that we're talking about a spot ETF. More companies are being okayed to purchase and hold it. The story around Bitcoin is changing. It's being seen as a store of value, and regulation is easing up on it. This is
and the more debt the United States has, I think the more debt the money we print, I think
another country too. I'm not sure. There's another Latin American country too that went all in on Bitcoin. Not
Salvador. El Salvador.
No, there was that, and there was another one. That's
the thing is, like, we don't talk about Bitcoin often because I think people get bored on this, at least on this channel, maybe not on ours when they listen.
It's not so much anymore. It was like how we felt talking about.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if the audience is in love with crypto in general, but I mean, Bitcoin is one of those foundational things in my portfolio and in Carlos. Like, I don't look at it, I don't touch it, I leave it alone. Okay, it's the same thing with Enphase and Tesla. You don't really look at it because unless you want to buy more, that's one thing. But you leave it alone and you let it do its thing, and it's been doing its thing for over a decade. So just let it.
It has beat. If you look at it over the course of its entire existence, it has beat almost any other. Asset.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Year over year, it has beat almost any of that.
The only mistake about me was not the fact that I didn't buy Bitcoin. The fact was that I sold Bitcoin. That was the only mistake that I've ever made in Bitcoin.
And then just to answer Doug said Argentina. I think he's right. Argentina is another country. What's happening too is with all of the money printing in the U.S., since the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency, a lot of other countries are subject to all of the whims of this, and this actually affects their economies as well. And so they're trying to move away from that to something that's more stable, that no one country can control the levers of, whether it be by printing or with interest rates. And so I think this is just a trend that you're going to see continue to happen as people lose faith in fiat currency. And at the end of the day, my last thing is there is an infinite amount of fiat to buy a finite amount of Bitcoin. Period. End of story.
Yeah, no, it's fair. I'm much more in the thesis over the past 6 months since January that I am, and it's part of it is because of a lot of the logic you've been injecting me with around Bitcoin.
We were saying this in 2020, and there's some people that listened to us and they did really well. Our mistake was not selling, but I'm not going to make that mistake this time.
Our mistake was not selling 67,000 because we knew it was pretty fucking high by looking at our portfolio.
That was an issue. That was an issue. That was a problem with us being too chart driven, like seeing the chart and seeing where it could go.
We were definitely looking at the charts too much.
We ran up X percent in this short amount of time. We should just either sell it all or take some off.
Or half. Yeah, look, you never have to sell anything. I think I don't like. I want to just crush that. You can take 20-30% off the top when you've made 20x, and it's okay. Okay. It doesn't hurt the fact that you're involved and you believe in the thesis and all that. Just take that pressure off. That's all I keep saying. Take the pressure off. Never sell out of your high conviction shit. That's really dumb because the high conviction shit will end up winning still. You might have to wait longer, but it'll still end up winning. So,
and to answer Justin Mohammed 439, does no CEO for Bitcoin spook anyone? It is not a stock. It is a currency. It trades 24 hours. It doesn't have quarterly reports. It trades 24 hours, 7 days a week across the entire world. If you think about the number of people that can buy, like it's basically everyone on the planet can buy Bitcoin, and there's only a fraction of those people that can sell it. To me, it makes so much sense. I know that people say have 1% of your portfolio, 5% of your portfolio. I think the story over the last couple of years it deserves to be a larger portion of people's portfolios. And if you don't have any, I'm telling you, you're going to get your opportunity in September. And that's it. And then from then on, I don't think we see these prices anymore. If you bring up the rainbow chart, you can see where we're going market cap wise. We're starting to go exponential on this.
Last big dip coming up.
This is the last one, guys. This is the last major. Okay. What's going to happen is as the halving events continue to happen, you're going to get these percent returns, but the amount of return is going to be limited. Like you would see see a 10x return before, then maybe a 5x. So the amount of return that you'll get off of the halvings is going to be limited. And I think this is the last time that you're able to invest a good portion of money now or a decent portfolio, decent allocation.
Honestly, I think the Tom Lee rule, the 1% rule, like 1%, 2% rule. He says, look, if everybody put in 1%, it's a hedge. If it fails, you lost 1% of your portfolio. If it wins, you have 20, 30% of your portfolio in 20 years or whatever. So
Chris, go ahead.
He's like, fuck Bitcoin.
Fuck this
No,
shit.
no, no. I'm not saying fuck Bitcoin.
Fuck
I'll
crypto.
say
I'm buying spreads on crypto.
Well, if they approve that, if they approve a spot ETF, that thing is going.
No, he's using
He's on Coinbase right now.
No,
Look, he's on
MicroStrategy
Coinbase right
as a way to play Bitcoin.
Right, to get
Very
Oh, yeah, you
smart,
have some
very smart.
MicroStrategy, right? You have some, right?
no, I don't right now.
Oh, you don't?
But
Okay.
if this halving thing really does take off,
It's called the
then
howling. The howling.
whatever it's called.
having.
Howl to the moon.
I'm just maybe I'll like throw some points at MSTR and just buy the options on it. That's the way that I would probably play it without having to buy the Bitcoin itself and deal with how to wallet it and all the other junk. Like I'd rather
You go to Coinbase.
Yeah.
Coinbase holds it,
Coinbase.
dude. What are you talking
You
about?
go to Coinbase.
I don't know, man. It's like, yeah, but that's what everyone said about FTX. That's what everyone said about Binance. Like I don't know.
Look,
like
if
Coinbase.
if something happens to
Coinbase.
Coinbase, there's a serious problem with crypto.
Yeah.
Like
You can forget about your Bitcoin.
So you can forget about it. Anyway.
Boom.
Oh
TJ.
boy, TJ. Goodness gracious.
And he just lost a lot of money on
TJ,
Enphase.
stop! We're not getting anything. Just wait until next month. All right.
or better yet,
this
send
is
it through Cash App so YouTube can't fucking take 50%, bro. Yo, for the new channel, we might have to seriously invest in or just make a Venmo for the finance junkies and let people send it through Venmo because the YouTube fees are ridiculous. And so I feel bad for the viewers, not even for us that we're losing.
I feel bad for me. I still haven't gotten anything.
Yes, that you're always gonna feel bad. But
And
TJ
Carlos
says,
too. We
here's
talked
another
about this.
installment towards our steak dinner. Keep up the good work, guys. Sell puts, sell calls, collect the match premiums,
Steak
have a
dinner.
reasonable
He
time
keeps
horizon
offering
for
us
your
food. He keeps offering us food.
100K. Damn, 100K by 2025. That's a pretty
I think we'll see. I think that to me is bearish.
No, I don't know if it's bearish. I mean,
I think
if there's
I
an
think we-
ETF, then maybe it's bearish. But if there
I
is no
think we-
ETF, 100K by 2025.
guys.
is
Do you
great.
really think 100K by end of 2025?
Yes.
Like, are
I
you-
mean, look, I'm
Yes.
not that kind of believer, and that's possible. But I do see us getting either close. But if there is an ETF, and Tom Lee said it, it's going somewhere in the 150K range. I do believe that.
yeah,
If
I
the
love
ETF
Tom Lee
happens.
too, but he's not like.
He's been right about Bitcoin, by the way, for a decade. This is not the first time he's making his thoughts on Bitcoin known. He's been talking about this for a long time. So he's been more right than wrong.
100,000 a coin by 2025. You think that's gonna happen?
And what is it now? And it's
Look, what if
15
it's 2026?
30. It's 30. It's
Who
30.
cares?
Say it's 30.
I don't know, man. 100,000. I feel like a lot would have to
Okay,
happen.
but I want you to
Let's make a
consider
gentleman's
something.
bet.
I want you to consider something. Okay,
Let's bet
in-
one Bitcoin.
listen. Consider this. In 2017, it hit $19,000. That price was so out of the question for anyone at the beginning of that year. Bitcoin was trading around $3,000 or $4,000 that year. People were like, really? Like exactly what you're saying now. Could it really be $20,000? Like $20,000? Like the price of a.
You remember what happened in
car?
2020, right? For Bitcoin to go that high, like we're not going to ignore the fact that $7 trillion was.
Dude,
printed
Bitcoin
in
pumps
some-
every 4
Yeah,
years.
but
That's not the way.
this is
I
what
mean,
I'm
that
saying.
was another
It's
catalyst. But every
cyclical
4
over-
years, it is a
yeah.
cyclical sort
Because
of.
of the
But,
halving
but hold on. Do you really think if the Fed had not given $7 trillion worth of stimulus, interest rates at 0%, that Bitcoin wouldn't have gone to 69,000?
The
Like,
halving-
really, that was the reason.
I'm not saying
no,
that there's no
because-
reasons.
It's like what
that.
Palantir went to 45,
No, because-
Tesla went to 400.
no,
All of
but
it was
the-
macro, and then it came down.
No, but
There's
the halving
always a
event
reason,
still it still halved that May. Like that was
Yeah, but I don't
irrespective of
care
what-
if the
what
Fed
happened.
didn't print $7 trillion. Bitcoin's not at $69,000 in 2021.
All right,
Like, we
hold
can all
on.
be adults and admit that.
Let me
right?
ask you. Let me ask you this.
No.
Let's say the
No.
possibility exists that it is at 100K. That it might happen. Okay, if they do get the ETF, which might happen at some point, maybe 2026, whatever. Why are you not putting some capital to work, you personally, at this
I didn't
point,
say I wasn't.
knowing
say I
that
wasn't.
everybody's talking about this? The SEC is going to regulate it. Okay, they've said it's a commodity at this point, so it's going to happen eventually, right? Even if you have to wait the 5 years, whatever. That's a crazy return,
Look,
right?
I'm not
Especially
saying
if
I'm
it's
not. I'm just
dropping-
saying
especially if
2025,
it's dropping to
100 grand.
15K, by the way.
What is the catalyst outside of halving if interest rates are still going to be at 4% or even 3%? Because I don't think they're going back to 0% by 2025.
Yeah,
and
okay,
there's no liquidity.
this interest rate thing, you guys, you're too young. The problem with interest rates right now is that they're moving up too fast. If it stabilizes at 5% and everybody can predict their cash flows, everybody can get their PEs and DCFs and all this worked out and done, and all of a sudden Bitcoin has no reason to worry about the interest rates. That's not what people are going to worry about because we're living in a 5% world for the next 5-10 years. That's what it is.
But why does it go to 100,000?
Business will return to normal. Believe me.
I agree with that. Makes sense. I don't know why Bitcoin goes to 100,000 because of that.
Because it's starting to mature as an asset, and it's starting to, and someone else put it there.
Yeah, but what
Zoho.
justifies a 3x in 2 years? That's my question.
Because if people continue to buy it, then the asset will rise in the same way that housing prices rise. You don't
If
have to
you
do
don't
anything.
sell the asset and
You don't
other
have to
people
do
want
anything.
to buy
You don't
the
have to,
asset,
I don't have
what
to do
happens?
anything for my home's value to rise, right? And it's not,
I get that. I don't know if 100,000 is going to happen.
Sure.
Look, if it does happen, that's great. The whole economy was going to be in a great space. Like a lot of stocks are going to be up. Everything's going to be up. But
you have to understand too that when COVID happened, I think Bitcoin was around $12,000 or $14,000. It had dropped precipitously after that, and a lot of money came out of the markets. So what is it? I think we lost something like $20 trillion out of the markets. That was just in the crash of March, right? And so yes, they did go and print some money, but let's not forget that trillions of dollars left the markets as well that year, and it had to come back in somewhere. And people are looking at a distressed asset that was $16,000 a few weeks ago, and now it's at $3,000. This is when it really started.
Carlos,
the
difference is,
and then 2 months later it halves, and people were like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, the difference is the 20 trillion that left, those were hedge funds, institutions selling off their stocks. The free money that was printed and given to random degenerates that started buying crypto and all this shit, that was a lot of the money going into Bitcoin.
The money,
Okay,
no. The retail money is what had Bitcoin surpass its all-time high in December. But all of the data shows that what drove it from 20 to 70, that first time when it happened, was all institutions. Even Tesla, because they would say it. They reported it on their earnings that they were holding some Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Even Tesla said that they had bought some Bitcoin on the balance sheet. And then when it started to drop and it went hit 40, 50,000, retail did push it back up in May. And then Elon tweeted about the energy, concern about the energy for Bitcoin, and that basically.
Well, no. Look, he's not wrong in the fact. Look, when the times are good, people speculate on other things. That is true. Okay, well, I'm not arguing that. So they speculated on Bitcoin too. But let's take us back besides 2020. 2016 when it ran from 2017 or whatever. When did it run to 20,000?
Yeah.
Was it because of the money printing again? Like, yes, they were printing money still. This is still happening, by the way. They're still printing money. I just want you to know they haven't stopped all this time.
It's running all day.
It's still going. Okay.
Where do you think the money for Ukraine came?
So my point is, what was your 2016 narrative then, and what was your 2012 narrative?
I don't know.
Why did it keep
bring up the chart? Bring up that picture again. Bring up that.
My point is the better narrative is that
look at this. This is 20. What is this? This is 12 years of data. Do you understand? And it's cyclical, and it's built in. It's built around the halving. You understand? This was a currency that was designed to do this by this whoever Satoshi Nakamoto guy. Like it was designed to do this. And
no, look, all this can be right.
Actually,
I just don't know why it's 100K. That's maybe it's 40K, maybe it's 50. I don't know why it's 100. That's the only reason. I'm like, well,
because there's more buyers than sellers at the end of the day.
How do you? Why not 700?
You have to understand too. You have to understand something.
Well,
too.
let's be reasonable.
You can lose your Bitcoin.
Wait, how is 100 reasonable? But
well, I'll tell you why it's reasonable. In the last run, it hit 60, 70, right? You know what happened. And in this run, when there's half the supply, why can't it go more than 70? Like, well, what's the actual logical reason it can't go more than 70? It's still printing money, by the way. That hasn't stopped.
And the rates, the rates
that
right,
and the
reward. I just don't get why it's
will not be the factor that you think it is.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Anyway, okay. So if it's 85, did we lose this bet?
No. I'm just saying 85 is great. I'm just confused.
85 is great. I'm not
sure if
it's 85. Me and Carlos lost.
I'll take that L.
85. You guys are gonna be good. For you guys gonna leave finance junkies. You're gonna go on a boat somewhere.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for the boat.
Okay, Chris.
The boat when it was 67.
Yeah, we can do the last topic on Google. You can go ahead and share the video. I'm also putting the link in the chat if anyone wants to join to ask a question. And Chris, you can give us a little bit more of your Google DD. Amit, you're asking the right question now. Why not 700K? And no one knows that. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
maybe it's 700.
It's not going to be 700. I mean, that's silly.
No. 700K would require.
It's the same people who are saying Tesla to 10 trillion. Same people who say Tesla 10 trillion. It's the same issue.
But it's also just go back and historically just look at the price of gold. Like seriously, just go back and look at the price of gold as a store of value. It's going to be very volatile till it reaches a market cap that can sustain massive outflows and have it be a relatively small percentage of it. Like look at Apple right now at $3 trillion. This is a single company in the United States. One single company making phones in the United States has a market cap of $3 trillion, and all of crypto is less than $1 trillion. You're telling me? So if you just take crypto and scale it up to Apple. Just scale it up to Apple, right? then Bitcoin is already $75,000. Just if you
3x.
scale it up to Apple.
3x.
And
If
no one
Bitcoin
thought,
offers even 1% of the utility that Apple has done for my life, then yeah, I agree.
as
with
they
that.
keep printing money,
Well,
you'll start
there
to
you have
see-
a point.
you'll
Yeah,
start
if they
to see
keep
the
printing money.
utility.
That's
You'll
fine.
start to see
All
it.
right, Chris, go ahead and do your Google stuff.
You know what? I think I'll save it for another time
wanna
because
save
it's a lot of DD that I have to
Okay,
go through.
cool.
So we only got about 6 minutes, so probably not.
Do you
Yeah,
have anyone in the
sorry,
back or
Chris,
no?
for usurping the
No, it's
remainder
fine.
of the
No,
time
it's
here.
fine. I mean, my opinion on Bitcoin is that it's Bitcoin is a religion. You know, the more people believe in it, the more power it gains. And so you're seeing more people like 5 years ago when you spoke about Bitcoin to people, they would have laughed at you saying, look at this guy with his magic money. Today it's being taken more seriously. So the way that I would probably value it, it's not based on any magical intrinsical factors that Bitcoin could provide some sort of store of value, all that nonsense. Like there's no real use case for Bitcoin other than what is that thing called? Like
So you don't believe in gold too, then, right?
huh?
But even
You don't believe in gold, too.
but even
Hold on,
even-
let him finish the
Hold
argument.
on.
Then you guys can attack. Let him
I
finish.
think the only real use case for Bitcoin, in my opinion, is just money laundering. Like Bitcoin is the
God.
greatest.
That's
So
ridiculous.
Bitcoin is the
If I
greatest.
want to send you, if you're in another country,
Dude, the
and I
easiest
wanna
way is
send-
to
if I
pay you
wanna
in
send
dollars.
money, hold on. Even just for the borderless transactions, right? If I want to send you money across the world, sending you money via Bitcoin is probably the easiest way to get money across the world.
Right.
Arguably,
So that's
the
what I'm
easiest way to
saying.
make
It's the
money.
easiest.
And-
Yeah.
but that's not money laundering.
It's the
That's-
easiest way to
that's
money
not
launder.
money-
Like let's say I scammed people by getting them to buy my course on whatever the fuck, right? And then I'm
Meet
like,
Chris,
you know what?
meetchris.com.
I need to get this money out of the country somehow, and I don't want people to find out because if I do it through the U.S. What is that thing called? Like do it
Banking
through a
system?
wire. The banking
I
system
don't
will
think you understand
track
how
it.
much banking
it's still-
system fraud there's
and
going
they'll be able
on.
to
And if I
find-
brought up- hold on.
right?
If I brought up the
Yeah.
number of banking fraud that's going on right now through international banking, it's way bigger than Bitcoin. I don't have the stat, but I'll get it for you next
I'm sure
time.
it is. I'm
There-
sure
there's
way
it
that
is.
bigger
part of
than
it
any
too.
Bitcoin.
Right,
And in
there's that
fact,
part of it too.
in
but
fact,
it's also
you
like-
might have been right. Hold on. He might have been right 10 years ago when it was harder to trace. The FBI knows now every single address and every single destination point because it's all in the public ledger. This is not a private thing. You're an idiot if you use Bitcoin now to do these public transactions. It's all public. So they
Dude,
can trace
let me
anything
tell you,
and exactly
I
where
would-
it
that
goes.
is that is part
Here's
of
what
it.
I would
That
do.
is
Here's
part
what
of
I
why
would
it
do.
was created is to have it be transparent. There's a
Here's what I
transparent. You
would
can
do.
go back and look at this. You can go back and look at every
Yeah,
single.
you have the
purchase
wrong
that
data
Bitcoin has
completely
just
on
grown.
this. Literally,
Well, it's
the
just an
opposite
old
of the
narrative. It's
truth.
just an old narrative.
Here's
Very
what
old.
I would do. I would take all this money, I would put it on a cold storage wallet, and then I would just transact with the cold storage wallet. Be like, look, there's $100 million worth of Bitcoin on here. Here you go. Take this. Get me my drugs. There you go. And now I can deal
you can't
drugs.
because you can't because you have to go through.
Well, no,
it
that's
has
fine,
to go
but
back onto an
now
exchange. in
now
order
you have to
exchange.
Why?
personally
There's no
give them-
exchange. There's no exchange. It's
No,
literally
you can
just
do
sitting
that.
on the
You
thing.
can do that.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. You put it on the wallet, you go to the drug meet, and then you give them
Yeah.
the Bitcoin key. That's fine, but that's
Yeah.
what they do with dollars right now. This is not any different.
You
ever heard of money laundering, Chris?
It's
It's
a
a real
little.
thing.
I know about money laundering. I know how it works, but I'm just
Whoa,
saying,
don't be
like,
saying-
No, I know how it works.
yeah, I know how it works. So all I'm trying to say is the utility of Bitcoin for all the people that are saying, "Oh my God, this is like the greatest thing." It's super slow. Okay, the transaction time is crazy.
10 minutes,
Like
yes.
you know, there's. I don't think that this is one of those things that's going to be turned into like a way that people can do payments processing and all the initial hype around it. I don't think that's the case. Store of value, yes. Do I need to launder money across the world? Yes, I think you could do it very easily with Bitcoin. You know, so
Try to move
yeah.
$50 million. Try to move $50 million in
mean-
gold. When the United States took back the gold,
That's the
from
point. That
Vatican,
you can't
when the
do
United
gold.
States-
You
when the
can do Bitcoin. That's what
when
I'm
the-
trying to say. That's
the United-
look.
But this is
There
what I'm
are.
saying.
yeah,
There's
that's
always listen. There's always going to be people with nefarious intentions that exploit the properties of any given asset. But that is not saying that that is the purpose of the asset or that is the primary use of
Dude,
the
Chris
asset.
is buying banks. Who are we talking
Listen,
to here? He's
listen.
basically a banker for all
Even-
practical purposes.
even like artwork can be used to money launder. That's how the world works, man.
Hunter
Like everyone's.
Biden's, yeah, I saw
you
those.
know,
I saw those.
That's what
ridiculous-
happens. It's
Of
all.
course. So, but that's why I'm saying that these arguments are somewhat silly to say that that's a reason why Bitcoin is
Yeah.
not worthy of.
No, I'm
someone
not.
investing.
I'm not saying that it's not worthy of buying. I just think that I'm just pointing out there are use cases that are not necessarily what they were originally intended for. Now, here's the good thing about it if let's say some guy takes $100 million, buys Bitcoin with it, and then loses his key, right? That's $100 million worth of Bitcoin that's no longer circulating in the market ever because it's locked away forever.
That was a point that I was
Right?
going to make. That
I've lost my keys for some Bitcoin.
I was going to say this to Amit. You can lose your Bitcoin forever, and it cannot be sold. And this is part of what happens, like Ripple with XRP. That's what they would do. They would call it burning. They burn it, and so it's basically gone. That money can never, and basically those coins can never be circulated again. And that's something too. As it goes on, and people lose their Bitcoin, there's only 21 million of them, and I think 4 million of them are gone forever. Right? People have
they're naturally burned away.
Yeah, they naturally burn away, or you lose the hard drive or the hardware key, and it's gone. You know, you can have the money on a hard drive, but without the key, you can't get it. So there's a million reasons, of 21 million reasons why.
That's the same. That's the same thing that happens with the U.S. as well. The U.S. prints a lot of currency, but there's so much currency that literally is sitting places where it's never being put into circulation because it's just being stored. Like a lot of drug dealers, they have storerooms full of drugs. Like if you could look at what's the name, Pablo Escobar. At one time, he had billions upon billions out. This is in the fucking 80s. All right, not right now. Just cash sitting around, not doing anything, circulating the economy. So my thing is, eventually Bitcoin is probably going to be a proxy for stuff that's nefarious, but that's also going to be confiscated. Like one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world
is the U.S. government.
The U.S. government
is the U.S. government. I think they have 100 and last time I checked, it was like 174,000 Bitcoins they have confiscated. Like, what happens to that money?
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. What happens to that money?
But how easy is it?
Listen, they're hodlers. They're
right. They're looking at the rainbow chart.
Yeah, they're like, okay, we're not
like when Argentina. Yeah, as soon as Argentina drops all their transfers all their money, they're gonna sell.
All right.
Okay, Vitaly, you can leave if you want. I want to get Chris's thoughts on one last thing. We do have 2 minutes left. If you can stay, Chris. Palantir fell below $14 today. Any thoughts on the 8% decline in Palantir?
Who gives a shit? Seriously. Like, who gives a shit?
Excellent thoughts.
Phenomenal analysis. Like, absolutely incredible. Okay, if you really want to know why Palantir fell 8%, watch my video. And you'll
How did your interview this morning go? I heard it went well.
It went pretty good. So for those that don't know, I interviewed a Wall Street Journal journalist. And she's been in the biz for like 15 years. Her name is Gunjan Banerjee. She goes on CNBC a bunch. So she was gracious enough to give me 10 minutes and asked her about the macro markets. And it was pretty good. So super cool for the live stream.
Nice.
Very nice.
Yeah.
All right. That's it, everybody. That's it for the work week. We'll be back Sunday on the new channel at 7 p.m. Officially on the new channel September 3rd. That's when Apple takes us out of the jail that they put us in.
Google takes us out of jail.
Google takes us out of jail.
Yeah.
Well, Apple called the cops.
Apple called the cops.
That was so silly.
All right.
But I think that's going to work out well for us, actually. I think we should have a date. We should have like an official date, whatever it is, that first Sunday that we're out of jail. Have like an official date, promoters like
it should be like a celebratory episode.
Yeah, we're leaving Amit Kukrej's channel.
We're flying on our own.
Yeah,
there's the world of the internet.
Whenever I pray,
guys, please hit like. We got 81 likes on this video. Come on.
Whenever I pray, there's 3 prayers that usually go out. The first one is to make sure that all my family has health and wealth. The second one is, of course, like me and the wife are trying for a kid. So that's like the second thing. And my number 3 is that Apple will one day go fucking bankrupt. Like literally every day. I'm just like, thank you, EU, for making sure that Apple has to change
and die.
No. I'm not that fucking an asshole. No. I'm like, thank you, EU, for making sure that Apple has to use user replaceable batteries. Fuck Apple sales.
But Chris, if Apple dies, that's 7.5% of the S&P. We're all fucked if Apple dies.
Who gives a shit? Someone else will take their place.
That Vision Pro better fucking sell.
By the way, I think the same argument could have been made 20 years ago about IBM or 10 years about GE. Yeah. The same stupid argument. New companies come in and take their place. That's what.
There's always a hated company. There's always the current hated billionaire. It's just. It's
please, Tim Apple. I hope you.
Please, Tim Apple. Right.
All right. You know what sucks? If you guys have 1 minute, I just want to say,
surprise.
Berkshire has a shit ton of Apple. I don't know how Berkshire could ever unload that fucking stake, because the minute they start unloading, everyone else is gonna fucking start selling.
$1 trillion disappears.
But wait, what can they do it slowly without issuing the quarterly things about it, or no? As soon as they do it, that's it. It's over.
I think the minute they start, because they have just so much.
Well, they have a
so
quarter.
much
They have a
Apple
quarter then.
It's 51%.
of their portfolio.
Yeah,
like
51% is
900 billion.
I think that's really dangerous to them.
200 billion.
That's really
Yeah.
that's Warren Buffett not really.
You're
not
talking about
processing-
concentration
yeah,
risk.
But that's the
Yeah.
dividend too. I mean, their dividend payouts are what, $250 million. Like it
Yeah.
just keeps growing.
No, but Chris, your point
I
is
know,
when they
but
disclose the sell,
dangerous.
you think everyone's going to follow Buffett.
Oh yeah,
Of course they would.
Yeah, man. That means
If the
that
largest,
that's just-
one of the largest shareholders starts to sell.
They'd be like, he sees something. Obviously, we should.
Well, it might not be a reflection of the fundamentals, but it just means like short term, this price is going down. So let me bake in whatever profits I have and and buy back on a dip. But that'll be the mother of all dip. That's a crater.
So you should be like, please, Warren Buffett, sell half your Apple stake.
Right. What you need to do.
And you know what?
need to
He
pray
might
for
do a
Buffett.
power move. He might sell, and then as soon as everybody dumps, he's buying back in. That
Right,
would
or
be
he
the power move.
or he
true.
buys a bunch of puts and then sells all of his position and makes money on both
No,
sides.
but
I
I'm
don't know,
telling
man.
you,
That's
he'd be
a-
like, okay, I know these assholes are following behind, and I'm going to get Apple for 20-30% less.
Berkshire market cap is 767 billion. Of that, 51% of the market cap is fucking Apple stock.
That's
300
crazy
and
stuff.
something billion dollars.
At this point, when
Wow,
you're
Apple.
buying,
Well, is it the
if you
market
buy
cap or the
Berkshire-
NAV? What is the NAV? Right,
do
the
you mean?
actual asset value of the whole portfolio.
Well, that's what it is. The market
Is it
cap is
700?
because it's just a proxy, huh?
I know, but it's sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't stay exactly equivalent with the
Yeah,
NAV.
it's like a few tracking points here and there, but it's
Okay.
mostly if you take the cash position and everything else, it's still probably around what the value of that is. It's not since Berkshire Hathaway is not any sort of business, everything is being transacted with Berkshire as in stakes that they have in other companies. So if the value of Apple goes down, Berkshire stock will go down, because the value of it would go down. So no one's saying, oh yeah, I'm going to invest in Berkshire Hathaway because they have a solid business behind them. I mean, other than their private business, which isn't recorded publicly, like Geico and whatnot. But the whole point that I'm trying to make is that this is one of those things that like every year Berkshire keeps buying more Apple. It's almost like I never thought that I would see someone who's that experienced as a portfolio manager let this level of concentration risk into their portfolio.
Yeah, but like
50%.
Even
But hold
Kathy
on,
Wood
but hold
won't
on.
do that.
But hold on.
Yeah.
But like Amit was saying, Apple itself is 7% of the S&P. So you got 500 companies. 7.5. So you have 500. So talk about like asset allocation or portfolio management. I mean, you've got 500 companies and one company is 7.5% of that. And the top 7 companies are what, 80% of that? So
I mean, if Apple stops growing and Berkshire sells, that means the market might stop growing.
Apple's one of those. Yeah,
Apple's
one of
not
those
growing.
indicators,
Like,
yeah.
Unless
I think the 7 FANG stocks are, by the way, around 30% or so. They're not 70%.
But still, out of 500
That's a lot.
companies, it's a
Yeah.
tremendous amount. It's a tremendous proportion to their size in it.
Yeah. I think at some point this is a very bad move. I don't know when that point is, but definitely very dangerous.
All right,
All right.
guys. It's been
All
really
right, guys. We'll see you on Sunday. Have a great weekend. Thank you for being here with us. And we'll see you on Sunday.
All right, bye,
Bye, everybody.
Bitcoin.
Have a good one.